When we get into the Clone Wars, you must understand that most of these buildings that you see in your neighborhood that's closed down are not closed down. Any buildings you see with windows are boarded up, in old high schools, old political buildings, or old public buildings that's boarded up, there's laboratories in there doing everything from DNA cloning, implants, and all of that shit. And this is how they can snatch a nigga right up in your neighborhood. Yeah. You must understand this at this particular time. We're at a big war, so we're going to get into that in a few minutes. We lose is because we refuse to accept advanced sciences. Now, what happened? In the 1960s, you got out and start marching. Although that was a government thing, a counter-revolutionary thing, to stop real revolutionary types of programs. You know, the Marcus Garvey, he doing his thing. Du Bois blocks it. Noble Drew Ali, Elijah Muhammad doing their thing. Martin Luther King blocks it, which was a #1 government agent under the same doctrine of Gandhi that they used, the British intelligence used the Gandhi nonviolent shit to manipulate and exploit India. Now you see the motherfuckers pour over there like crazy. Gandhi was a government agent. So when they wanted to have a counter-revolutionary, they gave Martin Luther King the same teachings. Take it or leave it alone. Like I said in another lecture, there was a spiritual woman that understood that this man wasn't right, and she stabbed that motherfucker. Because she saw a vision. She said, wait a minute, this is a government shit here. Remember, they only award people holidays who have worked for the government and have been affected. You better take it or leave it alone, because every time you get an argument, the cracker throw up Martin Luther King in your face. Yes. But like they said, if they loved him so much, why didn't they keep the motherfucker around? But the key is you always make a person a martyr that you want a certain doctrine to stick. This is reality. We can debate this thing right now. We can go into the science on this. But dealing with it, we understand now that the Civil Rights Program was a government-funded program based on the Freedmen's Bureau and based on the 50C3 law, which is over all of the churches, which is a part of the same government entity. Let's not be funny with this mess. But anyway, dealing with this particular science that we're dealing with here. In the 1960s, although you got out in the street and marched, and you marched and it was for integration, which most of the people who marched with Martin Luther King said, if we would have known this shit would have happened, we would have never done it. We didn't know where the shit was going. And then in the 1970s, they marched a bunch of them niggas in, Andrew Young, Jesse Jackson, and paid them niggas off. And the only one they couldn't pay off was Hosea Williams, so they put what is called character assassination on him. And that's what they did with Alton Maddox and that whole thing here, and the whole Reverend Buffon Sharpton. But still yet, but still yet it's character assassination. But the key is this. Even though you had the civil rights thing going down, the people didn't know of no government conspiracy. You was doing what you thought was real. So therefore it created an energy and a vortex, and after a while, no wait, I'll tell you what. I might need that. You tell the brothers to unask if you got some other brothers. Otherwise, I ain't giving up my seat to no hardhead. Fuck dumb shit. You tell the brothers, they had a courtesy, we got a sister in the back, you know the African rule. One of y'all brothers relinquish your seat, get on your feet, and let the sister come sit down. You know, now, try to understand this.
What's the best kept secret about building a 6-figure side hustle? Well, I'm going to answer that question in 30 seconds.
Try to understand this. You didn't know shit. So what happened was this. The energy got so strong that it even drove their own children wild with the hippie shit. Right? In Vietnam protests, Kent State, Attica, and the whole 9 yards. So the crackers say, wait a minute. This shit is getting out of hand. What we need to do is we need to start giving people what they want. So in the early 1970s, they start putting out all these programs and they start paying people off. And the COINTELPRO lulled people to sleep. They said, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to put them to sleep and we're going to go so advanced until we're going to be into the year 2005. 2005. When these people wake up in the late 80s and the 90s, they're going to go right back to that shit they were doing in the 60s, and they don't even understand. The revolutionary construct or the revolutionary thing that we was doing in the 60s, we encourage that shit now. Because we in the year 2025, the year 3000 with our technology. You see? So therefore, they encourage revolutionaries. You see what I'm saying? They encourage you dealing with the same structure that you did in the damn 60s. See, the energy is gone from that now because the crack on a whole nother frequency. And now that means one thing. That means the only way that you can fight this war now is through the occult sciences, which is your own spiritual stuff. Now, what I mean by that, let's reason here for a minute. I have a document here that I sold for some of the people, and some of the people who want to get it, 5,000-year-old document saying we was going to go into slavery and everything was going to go on. Right in this document that the Greeks stole out of the Library of Alexandria. You see. Now, if we knew that, we put things in place so when we come out of slavery, we can utilize to get ourselves out of this. But yet, when we look at all the ancient materials, we don't see no economic plan. We don't see no revolutionary plan, no guns and no bombs. We don't see but one thing, religious shit. Or what you call religious stuff. A whole bunch of mythology, a whole bunch of religious things. But you don't, see, you understand where I'm coming from here? Now let's reason here. If the Egyptians or the Canaanites knew, based on this document, that we was going to go into slavery, they got it verbatim. If they knew that this was going to happen 5,000 years ago, then that means that these people had 5,000 years, or at least 4,000 years to plan to put things in operation. So when we became dead and started waking up, we could go back to our original blueprint or the model to get some shit to help ourselves out. Yet, only thing we can find is religious, or not even religious, or a whole bunch of mythology and spiritual things. I don't want to say religious.
Yeah. Feel good,